and hello, say hello, swaddy to everyone here. I was kind of hoping that it would be empty like 10 minutes ago, so why people start coming up. If I were to talk too fast or you cannot understand me in any way, please raise your hand. I kind of have a knack of speaking too fast, and yep, I will try to slow down as much as possible. So don't please don't hesitate to stop me. Just like please slow down a bit. And so okay, so we are starting now. Okay. I'm not really sure that people do still developing and in JavaScript in other without React, without Vue, without Angular. I do myself. I don't do React. I don't do Angular at all. So it's kind of when I was in my working environment, it's the thing that kind of stumped me that no one know when I write it, when I wrote it like that. They just, what is this API called? I would say that it's a Mozilla website. It actually working in all the browser, the most recent browser, okay? So let's start at an overview. So we only have about 20 minutes here, 25 plus Q&A something, so you have to be somewhat fast. Okay, so the overview of what I'm going to talk about is the HTML component and the web component and the core technology of what we call web component. So the HTML component, as we know it, is the tag, just like the P, A tag, header tag, HTML tag. That is the HTML component. And it began around, I'm not really sure, 10 years ago or so, that they are working on that if normal people, other developer, a non-core developer of the HTML standard, what if they can make their own tag? They can customize their own tag. So we came to the project that initiated back then that I think it's from Google or from someone around that time, because the first time I heard about component is from Angular.js. So I think it's probably Google, it's the project Polymer. And after that, web component evolved over time. In this year, 2024, if you follow some Stack Overflow from 2020 or 2021, please ignore it because it probably obsolete anyway. Web component has come really a long way in this 10 years. So the API I was about to show here is a latest API. So yes, so let's get started on it. So in the core technology of web component, it actually divides into three. It's a custom element, the shadow DOM, and template and slot. Don't ask me why the third had two. So it's not four, it's actually just three. Okay. So the custom element. So I'm thinking that most people here is develop JavaScript already. So we probably have something similar in React and in Vue already. So these three methods will kind of, if you go into some GitHub for the web component, you see it all the time at the beginning of the class. So just get used to it. You don't really need to understand it. Just know that it will be there. So the custom element, so actually the second topic is it actually can extend the existing element as well. So we will go into the code and see. Example 1. This is a basic custom element. This API is, as I was saying before, that it may not, if you go to Stack Overflow, it may have a different tool, but here in the JavaScript, in the native JavaScript, let's say this, we actually kind of honor OOP over the higher order function. My friend in the React community, most of the time, we just we don't use class here. Sorry, I use. So you have to, if we think about, if we see this class and extend HTML element, this is the progress of the web component in recent years. I'm not sure how much recent, maybe 5 or 6 years ago. So every tag, it can be extended using you define class and you extend the existing element. HTML element here is the default element of all HTML. So that's why it's kind of, this is just an element to display the hello world tag. And the uses in the actual HTML file, we call it the element like how we define here. So the users here will have some bad compatibility with some framework, namely React. So yes, we will have to go into detail later here. In example 2, in the second example here, so I try to be a bit more interactive, like in actual website, the component here. So the uses in the HTML, we will just specify like this, and all the method, all the function go into the class. This class is just the JavaScript. So if you imagine, we can actually have the import statement in before this defining class, and just use the import method into the class. It's actually possible without any frameworks. In the third example here, I try to add a bit more. That when I said that we can extend the existing element, let's see this extend HTML paragraph elements. This is actually P, the P tag in the uses. And we use the API is this P is actually the clickable P that was defined with my, typo. This had to be this class, clickable paragraph. My sincere apologies. So if we follow the example, it's kind of when we try to create another P paragraph element, maybe that paragraph will have a lazy load. Maybe that paragraph will have somewhat a method to deal with a lot of text. And we think that maybe we need another class of a bit different from that paragraph. We use OOP here to extend. And all the method will go to the new class as well as a inheritance in OOP. I'm sorry if anyone not actually understand, please raise your hand. I can have a quick layman term about some term that I use, but no more than layman term. Okay. So right now we are starting here. We are starting to see that we can actually see the style, set the style in here, and add even listener in here. It actually quite laughable that most of my friends don't recognize this as event listener. They kind of, what is this? It has been there forever, as long as I am making JavaScript. So another, in the next example, is actually, so you are still following, right? Not speaking too fast. We have example 3 and 5. This is intentional anyway, so that I keep you on the loop. So if I show you this, the usage of this P, how can I make this disappear so that it's done? Okay. So can you imagine what kind of JavaScript do I need to make this possible? Well, this is the kind of thing that you can just pass it on the ChatGPT or something, but well, don't expect it to correct you, but maybe it can guide you some way. So I just try to use the custom model, and I want to set that if I click this, it will open that model. And this model, well, it's a model, right? It had to be hidden at first. So it needs some style. I think it's too small. Sorry. I will share the slide later. So this is that begin to kind of disturbing. It's kind of complex. The complexity is beginning to add too much. Let's say in here, we try to add style in the shadow DOM. Since we will cover later, and this is the connect callback, and this is the open and close method here. Is actually just custom function in JavaScript. You can just like it, just like when we do with jQuery. People still use jQuery, right? Well, I don't anymore, but maybe. So in here, I actually intentionally introduce you to this API called Shadow Root, because I was about to talking about the Shadow DOM. This is the second in the core technology of web component, is the Shadow DOM. I think Shadow DOM is come out as soon as custom element. It was used first, as my knowledge, in Angular.js. It's a way that we encapsulate the DOM inside that component, just that component, without connected to the outside. So in the DOM, not without shadow, when we render HTML, it kind of a tree from head of the HTML tag to header to body. This shadow DOM can be called a subtree of that tree. And back then, it actually not display in the inspect element. So this kind of thing, it isolates style and markup for the main document. It's good if you don't want your style to make up, but it's somehow a bit hard to, when you have a bland guideline that all text must be clean, and well, you have to specify clean color in that as well, because it's harder to access global CSS. It's not impossible, but normally we don't do it. So in here, just a bit less complex than earlier. The basic of the shadow DOM here is just declare this shadow root and it will be inside. When we render into the actual browser, when we inspect element do, this shadow element will have this style and this P inside already. This kind of shadow DOM is most basic, and it has some usage that if you don't, it need a script. It cannot run without, it had a bad compatibility. It will run a bad compatibility without JavaScript. So we are here. This is a new one. Maybe not new anymore. I think it was declared around 2021 or something at that time. But at that time, it was only Google Chrome Canary that support this declarative shadow DOM. I intentionally left out the explanation and just show the code here. And this is the same code as this basic shadow DOM. This basic shadow DOM, but when we use it with the declarative shadow DOM here, it became like this, much simpler. This actually opened to a new possibility of the shadow DOM to be filled in with server side. Because before this, in the basic syntax, it need to be in the script. Without JavaScript running, well, there is no style, there is no p tag. And with it, we can actually is a good backward compatibility. Some platform like WordPress that still not use React or not use web component at all, it can still use the shadow DOM with this declarative shadow DOM. You may find that there is also the term of declarative shadow root, but well, you will see if you search about it. So the shadow DOM pro and con here, again, I intentionally not specify if it's a pro and a con because well, it's a trade-off. It isolates style and it is reusable, but the developers must learn how to manage this and how to manage life cycle. Again, well, you have React to learn. You have to learn this as well. It's not as simple that when you have React in your code and you just drop in and it just works. No, it's not like that. It requires some work, but it is not hard for me anyway. So also, it's not just when we share style with the global. It's just if we have two components, two button, and we just want to have the same border radius, we actually need to specify it 2 times because it isolates. This kind of concept may be in the modern framework like Angular or Vue, maybe they have this already. But if you are not, well, you have to learn it the hard way. So this is I want to show you that from this here is a shadow element. So if I want to create the card component, this is a custom card that we have title and we have content and we have the tag h2 and tag p with a slot title and slot content here. So if you are not familiar with this, please try to think ahead and what I try to do here. So this custom card, can actually be something like this. So it's the same structure that we call shadow root inside. We specify style inside, and we call this that the inner HTML will be div and with card as card, and the slot name to this slot is, and this slot. Can you imagine that if I were to render this one, what kind of title that we will have in the card? So it's at the slot we will have this card title and this card content goes here. This one is the default. Okay, so we now going to the third template and slot. Well, template first anyway. Template is a way to define HTML so that for later use. Just like if we have we want that page to have at least 3 buttons. But with the declarative, even with declarative shadow root, we don't want to just declare it 3 times. We define a template and reuse it. This is kind of, I don't actually use template myself, because for me, I just extend the class. I don't use templates. I define a base class and I extend it and use it. This template API is not connected to custom element. It's the other API that's what used. When you see this template here is hidden and one appear by default. And if you recall that declarative shadow DOM, it used the same API here, template, with label shadow root open. Here, use the same API. It's the way web component evolve over time. This kind of API, even for me, I don't want to use it. But for the fair completion, I include it anyway. Template as a pro and con. Well, it's reusable, but I don't really need that reusable because I can just extend the class and just reuse it anyway. So slot here, well, I intentionally left out because I show you already what is slot. It's just a way that we define the slot that the content will go in. And in here, if you see, I call slot name, but in here, I call it using head2 tag, because you actually can change the tag. This can be anything. If I want this custom card and I want this title, but I want to display a list of it, I can just say this will be UL tag with slot name content. Okay. The advantage of using web component, I really then can define more. So let's just say that it's encapsulation, something that vanilla JS don't have before. It's reusability across frameworks. Right now, the framework that support, I think only React 18 is the only one left with a full support to web component. But React 19, as in React Beta, has full support of web component already. So you are in good hand. And another thing is it can fit into more project structure. So, yep. And where to go next from here? If anyone want to have a real code and see that if it fit with my framework, if it fit with my view, fit on my Angular, please go to custom element everywhere, search with GitHub and go into the library directory. They have the test suite for all the frameworks. Okay, I think we are closing already. If I speak too fast.
Do you have any questions? Any people? Any ideas? No one hand.
I just stunned the whole room. or maybe they don't.
Maybe they're trying.
You can speak Thai.
Yep.
I will try to translate.
ถามในไทยถามเป็นไทยได้นะครับถามเป็นไทยได้ครับสงสัยเว็บ component คืออะไร you can ask in Thai as well. Do you have any questions like oh can we like convert it's gonna be a good idea to convert the whole our like React application to be the web component something like that some kind like that
I can answer that already. No, not a good idea.
yeah just ครับ
ขอถามเป็นภาษาไทยนะครับคืออยากรู้ว่าตัวเว็บคอมโพเนนต์นะครับมันสามารถช่วยให้ build time ของแอปอย่างผมใช้ Angular ทำใช่ไหมครับคือบางทีโปรเจกต์ใหญ่ๆอย่างเงี้ยครับใช้เวลา build นานมากประมาณครึ่งชั่วโมงถึงชั่วโมงได้เลยครับอยากทราบว่าถ้าสมมติว่าเราถอดฟีเจอร์บางตัวไปทำเป็นเว็บคอมโพเนนต์เนี้ยอย่างเงี้ยครับมันจะช่วยทำให้เวลา build time ของแอปเนี่ยมันลดลงไหมครับ
Yes. I will answer in Thai first. Build time นะครับไม่ต้อง build ครับ zero ครับติดเลยครับ วางแล้วติดเลยครับไม่ต้อง build ครับ He asks that can we lessen the build time with web component just like in many big React projects it have so long build time like it have at least 15 minutes to build in web component it just work in the browser you can just import it it's a script tag take Thai JavaScript and yep it just work no need to build
awesome that's a very good one okay do you have any question like the other people and the question yes ใครมีไมค์อยู่ข้างหลังบ้างไหมฮะไม่มีเดี๋ยวผมวิ่งเอง ตึ๊ดยกมืออีกทีนึงได้ไหมครับทางนี้ใช่ไหมครับโอเคครับโอเคครับ
โอเคครับฮัลโหลครับเดี๋ยวขอถามเป็นภาษาไทยนะครับคือพอดีอยากรู้ว่าตัวเว็บคอมโพเนนต์นะครับใน use case จริงๆในชีวิตจริงครับเราจะเลือกใช้ในกรณีไหนบ้างครับ
Okay I will answer in Thai first กรณีที่เราใช้จริงนะฮะผมยกตัวอย่างการโหลดรูปสมมุติว่าเรามี image tag แล้วเราโหลดรูปไม่ขึ้นจะเกิดอะไรขึ้นกับ image tag นั้นเราอยากได้ behavior custom behavior เนี่ยเราจะทำยังไงถ้ามันโหลดช้าถ้ามันโหลดไม่ขึ้นถ้าเน็ตมันดับมันจะเกิดอะไรขึ้นกับ image tag นั้นเราสามารถใส่ alternate ได้แต่บางครั้ง alternate มันไม่พอไงเราอยากได้สิ่งที่มันดีกว่านั้นเราก็เลยสร้างเป็นเว็บ component แล้วเรา extend HTML image element แล้วใน constructor เราสั่งมันว่าถ้าให้มันโหลดจาก URL นี้ถ้ามันโหลดไม่ขึ้นให้มันขึ้น default รูปแทนครับ I will now answer in English so in the kind of he asks that in the practical example of web component what kind of component that I use so the most basic one is the lazy image the lazy image like when we try to have image tag and somehow that image tag the URL is not working or the internet is too slow we want to custom that behavior so that if somehow it's too slow it's display loading or if it's just not working at all we display a default image and we can just extend it like class lazy image with extend HTML image element yep
okay thank you so much oh okay last question
ครับฮัลโหลโอเคผมสงสัยตรงที่ว่าแบบว่าถ้าสมมติมีคัสตอม element นะครับแล้วมันสามารถควบคุมสเตทสมมติมี parent อันหนึ่งแล้วมีชาย2อันนะครับสามารถควบคุมสเตทข้ามชายกันได้ไหม
โอเคครับขอตอบเป็นไทยก่อนก็คือสเตทของ element ถ้าดูโค้ดส่วนที่ตรงนี้ by bottle label click me ถ้าเราจะ change state เราสามารถ change label ได้ โดยการสั่งให้ JavaScript สั่งให้มันเปลี่ยน label tag แล้วมันจะเข้าไปเราสามารถสร้างcallback ที่ชื่อว่า attribute change callback ว่าถ้าเกิดมันมี change callback เข้ามาที่ label ให้เปลี่ยน state เราสามารถเก็บ state ไว้ที่นี่ได้ครับเป็นวิธีของ Web Component ที่เราจะ manage state ไว้ที่นี่เราก็เป็นข้อดีที่เราสามารถ manage state ด้วย server side ได้ด้วยเพราะว่าเรา render เข้ามาตรงนี้เลย I will now explain in English so here about if we can manage state of the front end using this web component I tell that for me the most basic form in state management is to use the attribute in HTML tag. So in example, I use this label is named click me, and somehow if we just click already, I want to just change it to already click, don't click anymore, something like that. So we add it using this attribute change callback, and call it if someone click already. When we click, we change the label, and in which when label change, it will call this attribute change callback in the way to manage that through the HTML attributes. Okay, so that's it.
Okay, thank you so much. So we are running out of time. Thank you so much, Captain Wittawas. So yeah, please give him a big applause. Yeah.
Okay.
Actually,
Thank
I
you
also
for having me.
yeah, thank you so much. Actually, I